Good evening, everybody. It's Wednesday, October 4th, 2021. My name is Mike Langford, and welcome back to another episode of DearBands Live, the podcast that explores the paths and stories of career-minded artists and music industry professionals. If you're joining us on YouTube, please remember to like and subscribe to help support the channel. My guest today, born in Australia and vocalist of the Australian hard rock band The Lazies. After a series of performances at Canadian Music Week in 2014, the band decided to relocate to Toronto, Canada. They quickly became known for being one of the most energetic and responsibly dangerous hard rock shows hard rock fans could experience. Also the founder of Bandwagon Workshops, which is an artist development and mentorship initiative featuring a long list of established music industry minds, including John Harvey of Monster Truck and Daryl Hers of Indie Week. Please welcome our guest today, Leon Harrison. Leon.
G'day, mate.
How's it going?
How are you, Mike?
Doing good. You look like you're keeping well.
I am, mate. I was enjoying that jazz music that you put me in the waiting room listening to. It was amazing.
It helps keep me keep the anxiety down.
Yeah, I feel ya.
But hopefully people enjoy it as well. How's things? You're back in Australia.
I'm back in Australia. I got back in late April, May. I was in Vancouver working with a band, Dead Levy. I manage, and also came through the Bandwagon initiative, and I thought I'm one flight from home, and home means freedom, no COVID. And just been in a lockdown in Toronto, Canada for probably a year and a bit. Got a little glimpse in the summer of some patios and things like that, but nothing real sturdy, eh? So, yeah, one flight home. I thought I'll do it. I'll man up. I'll do the 2-week quarantine. I did that in the hotel. No fresh air for 14 days. And then I get out, and around 3 weeks later, boom, another lockdown. And Canada opens up. So go figure.
Well, I don't want to say it followed you home, but it's one of those things where you try to get ahead of it.
Right across the Pacific, mate, it followed me home.
Jeez.
So the Delta variant, there you go. And I flew Delta Airways.
Well, I think the airline's trying to get the name changed with the
Really?
variant. Well, they were trying to can we stop saying Delta? Is that cool?
Yeah, fair enough. Bad for advertising, but hey, any publicity is good publicity.
That's true. They could have. I guess maybe the PR department find a way to spin it.
Yeah.
But probably everything didn't sound very good.
It's kind of like just a little side note when She had changed their name to Pacifier due to the whole jihad thing. You know?
Are
you familiar with that story?
No, I don't know that story.
It's a New Zealand band, a great rock band called She Had. And in America, they had some trouble with the name due to jihad.
Yeah, that wouldn't go very well.
So they changed it to Pacifier. But anyway, there you go.
Learn something new every day.
There you go.
But
thanks for having me.
It's good to see. It's good to hear your voice. I feel like the last time we were in a room together was for Indie Week. We had a panel there.
We did.
We were talking about radio, impact of radio for bands and stuff, and
Spotify and things, all the good stuff.
And you were making some great points, but there's so many times we were on a panel and everyone just agrees with each other, and I was like, I think this guy's a game. So I'm just gonna start throwing some other ideas.
I loved it.
At least to make it interesting, because it's so boring when some panels everyone just agrees on everything.
I think everybody in the room that day had a good time, which is the main thing. For sure, we had some points we agreed on, conflicted on, but also talked out. But everybody in the room can draw something from that. And that's the main thing, that we're all thinking, thinking about the future, thinking about the current landscape, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and the thing too is, at the end of the day, we're all on the same team. Mm-hmm.
Which I was trying to outline to you that Spotify isn't.
Oh, but the idea, we want everyone to do well, because we know how hard it is to run a band. And how many things can seem to almost go right and go very wrong. And so it's one of those, at the end of the day, you just want everybody to be okay and do well.
Absolutely. I would throw it out there from the get-go that if you do play in a band or thinking about playing in a band, 9 times out of 10, it won't go your way.
And it can take years to realialize that and stomach it and be okay with it. And I'm sure
that's the challenge.
I'm sure there's times you run across, run by other people where like something doesn't work out and you're just like, first day, really? Like they can get way worse. You can get on a plane and your tour can like cancel while you're in the air, or like while you're waiting to take off and be like, all right, well, I guess that's what it is.
It's a challenge. Every day playing in a band is a challenge. It's about, obviously the business model, how you move forward, how you gain fans. It's also about the interrelationships. It's also about how you handle family life and private life at home. There's so many factors. Addictions, drugs and alcohol, sleep deprivation. Is that the word? Something
deprivation,
like that.
Yeah.
Deprivation.
Not getting enough sleep all the time.
Yeah. It's a tough gig out there, and it's not for the faint-hearted, I guess.
No, it's funny sometimes. We get older, and I find there's like certain ages that people drop off. And like new bands will form sometimes out of the musicians that are still around. But I love hearing when some musicians, or should I say past musicians, are just like, oh, I wouldn't want to go tour. I wouldn't want to go do this or that. And I'm just like, you wouldn't cut it. You wouldn't be able to stomach some of the crap you got to shovel and just things you got to deal with just to climb the ladder. So.
Yeah, I was only commenting today that my girlfriend that, I've only just progressed from sleeping in bunk beds on the road. How depriving. Here you are, you're a 30-year-old man, have a bunk bed.
Well, even just having a bed. You're just like, a bed is good because you learn
a good step.
Yeah, you learn to sleep everywhere. You're just like, wait a second, this restaurant bench is pretty comfy and so went to the bathroom. I'm going to take a quick 5. I know I got that. As far as things we've been up to, Bandwagon Workshops. I want to talk about that later. So there's definitely things I want to chat about that because we've been chatting a little bit. I think that's been filling up some of the time with people being off the road and but getting into music. You as a vocalist, how did you start with music? As bands in high school or musical family or?
Yeah, musical family. Dad was a music teacher at high school. And drums seemed to be what I was drawn to begin with, taking out that sort of angst, and Dad was the music teacher at school, so he would bring the drum kit home through the holidays.
Oh, nice.
Things were a little bit different back in those days. You couldn't just get something bought for you at the drop of a hat, so he'd bring that home. Kind of always sort of amount that to it not being something that I sort of took for granted. It was something that I really looked forward to, so there was never a wasted moment with those drums. Drove my mother crazy.
I was going to ask. Usually one parent's like, are you sure about a drum kit?
Are you kidding me? So... Yeah, I loved playing the drums. Actually, the jazz you were playing, introducing me, took me back to when I used to play in Dad's jazz bands and his stage bands and things like that he orchestrated with the school. And then, when I went to St. Eddie's High School on the central coast of Australia, New South Wales, my music teacher, Mr. Droz, would always be kind of bribing me to play drums in his jazz bands and stuff. Because I could hold time. It's one thing to play drums, but if you can't hold time, you may as well be the roadie.
I was going to make a joke about a band, but I'm not going to.
Yeah, we'll get busted.
Yeah, I'll say it after.
Okay. But yeah, then from there, mate, as this podcast is getting to know how people got into music, I'll take you through the whole spiel. I started getting into bands like Metallica, Nirvana, like the Silverchair, Rage Against the Machine, the list could go on. And I started admiring singers and guitarists and all sorts of stuff, just the whole realm of a band. And from there, I started teaching myself guitar and started to try and sing a few songs, etc. And then that's what kind of led me into songwriting. And my father was pretty influential in telling me that, you know, if you want a career in music, you should be going down the songwriting route, because that's, you know, that's where the money is, that's where the sustainability of your career is, all that sort of stuff. So by the age of 16, I was hell-bent on writing songs. I'd pick my acoustic guitar up and go down to my dad's study and play for him. God, I wouldn't even do that now. And sort of, if I could run it past Dad, and he was like, "That's pretty good, you should work on that." That was kind of my gauge. And then I just started with a whole repertoire of songs. Some I can still remember and play to today. And then that led me into the band scene, of which, played in a band called Detonator.
That's a good name.
I was a guitar singer then, and that clearly wasn't good for me because the coordination was there for drumming, but guitar singing, it wasn't really there. And, you know, I'm a firm believer that you've got the gift of something, so if it's not really flowing naturally, then make improvements or change a few things up. After that band, I met Matt from the Lazies, probably about 20. He was probably about 17. And we're a bit older now. And from there, just put my head down and my bum up and tried to get better at singing all the time. It's hard, man. One thing I noticed, when you've got to yell and sing and scream and chant over a loud rock and roll band in a bar, and this is when bars had balls, you know. This is when bars let rock bands in to fuck shit up, and you could turn it up to as loud as you could go. And, you'll be right, mate, you'll be right. There's a foldback, there's a monitor, you'll be right, you'll hear yourself. Oh, no. Once the band started, couldn't hear a bloody thing. Everyone in the pub's just going, ah! You know? And so that was a real challenge for me to begin with. Still is sometimes. Now I'm a bit older, I'm like, turn down!
The knob goes the other way. You can turn it down.
God damn it. You guys, you know, I always bitch on the road, but, you know, plugging something in and strumming it is a whole different ball game to showing up and singing it every night. Because, you know, your body is your instrument, and when you don't get enough sleep and when you've bloody bled your throat dry the night before, it's a whole mind game, man. It's a mind game. So, yeah, anyway, nothing really interests me music-wise. Once the Lazy started kicking off, it was just this real passion, and I don't know, it's very hard to explain, but, you know, we were cancelling going to anybody's birthdays, weddings, engagement party, whatever it was. If we had a gig, we were at the gig. Sorry. That didn't win us a few friends at times.
No.
But it just started manifesting into, when you spoke in the introduction, this hard rock show, and this sort of, you know, this kind of hurricane that would hit a venue. And there wasn't really any other band in that genre doing it. For anybody playing at home that doesn't know the band or whatever, imagine a hardcore band, but playing rock and roll music. So it's just furious up there, and God knows how we sustained it for how long we have. But that's kind of the musical journey. I started dabbling with a great pianist, my friend Jonathan. It was kind of, it's a very mellow project. Imagine sort of the National, London Grammar style. That was kind of my therapy through a few things in life where I couldn't put certain shit parts of my life into rock and roll songs that are going to inspire a venue. I had to find another outlet. So I love that. And here we are, I guess, through years and years of touring and, like you said, lounges and, you know, backroom, band room floors for beds and vans that break down and bank accounts that don't exist and broken up marriages and fucking anything you could throw at me, really. But that's really the essence of rock and roll. So if you're out there wanting to start a rock band, hang up now or keep listening. I'm going to tell you how it is.
There's a couple of things I want to touch on from that. I'll go to the one that may be a little bit more serious first. But you mentioned the sacrifices, like missing birthdays, missing just events and stuff. And a lot of musicians, they don't realize that that's really what it gets down to sometimes. Because when you miss the gig or you give up that potential opportunity, someone else takes it.
Yeah.
And so what age, with the lazies, like at what age are you figuring out we need to make this a priority?
Around the 20 mark. When you said, when I said giving up parties and any sort of formal engagement you can think about, that's really the early stages of the band. But you can't. If you prioritize going to an engagement party over taking a gig, you're never going to make it. You're never going to get a career. Now, maybe the odd one or two, but if it's a consecutive thing where someone's like, oh no, I got Auntie Janet's birthday this weekend. Oh, I've got Claire's bloody engagement party. You are working on the weekend as a band. You, especially as a startup band, you are chasing that renter crowd. That crowd that's out on a Friday, Saturday, or even maybe Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You are chasing that crowd. If your weekends are full with family commitments, you won't make it as a musician. I can be very blunt.
No, but that's the thing. And also when bands have 3, 4, 5, maybe more members, the idea where if everyone's got things, and like I've had experiences where we got offered a tour a couple years ago, and it was the quickest I've ever said yes. Because usually the band, we all know that like we're able to go tour and stuff. As soon as the email came in, I said yes, and it's just like if anyone can't do this, there's a problem because for sure we need to be doing this. But yeah, no, it's tricky for some musicians to really get a hold of that.
But I mean, many musicians won't get up at 7 a.m. to an alarm clock and go to work, and many people will. And those people would turn around to you and say, well, unless you get up to your alarm clock, unless you get in the car, unless you get your coffee,
It's funny you say the alarm clock for 7 in the morning, because I'm sure you've had it where you get to bed at 4 a.m., but realizing you've got to get up at 7 to drive. You know? So it's one of those things where like, we make it work.
Yeah, there's so much that comes into it. But to your initial question, yes, the sacrifice is real. It never really got any easier for my band either because of the Australian music industry for some reason. At the time, we were sort of having a good crack at it. They weren't interested in rock and roll. So therefore, the international factor came in, which we were embraced considerably. So we thought, fuck it, we're moving overseas. If we put in this much work at home for no response, and then we put in this much work overseas and get all this response, what are you going to do if your dream's to play in a band? Move.
You've skipped a little bit ahead on things I wanted to chat about with the moving, but I do want to say one of the worst pieces of advice I think people give musicians and bands is get big in your hometown first. Build a following in your hometown first. And I'm like, if you know there's a market somewhere, maybe try to go there. Yeah.
What that will do though, like any sporting side or anybody who wants to excel in their field, it will give you the experience and the understanding of your craft. It will give you the confidence. It's all around a learning curve if you start to become somewhat known. I wouldn't call it successful. What's successful being known in your area? Well, you got a big swinging dick hanging over your shoulder. I don't
know. Hometown.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's cool, but at the same time,
cool. It's cool, man.
But at the same time, you're right. It's not probably going to make you that successful. One of the things that stings sometimes too, it's like when your friends and family are your fan base, it's not really a fan base. That's support. That's like default support.
It's so supportive and it's great. And look, the Lazies started getting a great name around the Central Coast where I grew up. We branched out into Sydney and things like that. But in terms of, it flows further into what what you would call the Australian music industry. Like, I mean, it's very small. It's very, very small and only capable of those things that it's capable of. And we all know the generic rock and roll story, man. Like a great rock and roll band won't. Australia can't handle that. In Excess had to go away. AC/DC had to go away. Cold Chisel did it here but went away. Like there's Midnight Oil went away. Like there's so many rock bands that have come out of Australia. Airborne went away. You know what I mean? Like the world's a big place. Australia's a big continent, or what is it? It's an island. What do you call that?
I think it's
an
still
island.
Yeah, I think it's still still a continent.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
But like, there's only so many people on the east coast of it, you know, and then that's where everyone lives, and then you just got all this massive amount of dirt. So what do you do with that? You got to kind of get on an airplane and fucking go somewhere where there's
you can't
lots
go
of people.
play to the dirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dirt doesn't buy tickets.
You
don't buy tickets. Don't buy
but it'd be a
CDs.
bit weird.
Before we move on, the other question I had, the Lazies.
Mm.
How did you come up with the band name?
Oh, mate, the band name.
Because it doesn't sound lazy if you end up on the other side of the planet to pursue a
Yeah.
music career.
Yeah, we weren't lazy. Matt used to play in a band called Lazy Sundays. Right? And, you know, they had some good songs. They were noticed by a publisher and a manager and all sorts of things. And Matt was a great songwriter, still is. And he's great on guitar. So he had this little thing going for himself, this little kid from fucking Toukley on, you know, the New South Wales Central Coast. And anyway, I joined the band and we really did start, you know, pushing hard at those pub gigs, proper pub gigs. And we couldn't come up with a name. Like, we were thinking Knuckles, we were thinking Ready, Aim, Fire, how bad's that? We were thinking Foo Fighters, nah, that was taken. No, so we just went, the Lazies, that'll do. We always referred to ourselves as the Lazies, not Lazy Sundays has a gig. The Lazies have a gig coming up. So we quickly dropped that part and just it was kind of a nickname for the band previous to what the Lazies was. So the rest is history. There you go.
I was thinking maybe you had a banner and you just cut the unday part off of it and then.
It was pretty much that. Terrible story. Most band names are terrible stories. So there's not much to go with it. But yeah, the Lazies, here we are. I think now 15 or 16 years later, which is bloody unbelievable, to be honest.
No, I think if a band can make it past 4 years, that says a lot. Because there's a lot of commitment. The relationship of a band. You know, people have relationships with one person. It's like, well, try to have a relationship with 3 or 4 people that also probably have external relationships as well. If you can keep that all heading in the same direction, that says a lot. So 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been easy all of the time, and definitely the international factor now raises a lot of concerns, but the bottom line is you push through it or you don't. And us as a band want to push through it, but it's not easy. So, you know, there's that answer for you.
So talking about it not being easy, who brought the idea, hey, let's maybe go to Canada for Canadian Music Week?
Well, a manager we were working with at the time, his name's Jeff Trio. He was working with the Trues, your golden boys, the Trues. Colin and J.A., I love them. They're watching, hello. But yeah, so the Trues came out here. We developed a friendship with them. Colin's he's a mad advocate for Aussies. He loves us. And then we struck up a friendship. So it was suggested that perhaps we go over to Toronto and do what they've done here. And Canadian Music Week seemed to be the best angle at that. And that was to be honest, at the time, it was just a let's go and see what happens, right? And we were going there for a number of reasons. One was an agent. Well, the most important one was an agent, really, because if you get an agent, you can then start performing in the area, and therefore radio and all sorts of things start to amalgamate, right? So we were going there for an agent. The bonus was meeting Ian Dessar from Billy Talent. And believe me, that was the one time in my career where, remember when they say you don't know who's in the crowd, right? We didn't know he was in the crowd, and he changed the course of our careers and lives. So it does happen.
So yeah, did Ian decide, did he just see you by chance, or did he come to scout you?
He got a tip off. He got a tip off by his German sort of entourage and people that work Billy Talent throughout Germany and Europe. They were also at the conference. And how's this? Niels, their German sort of, I think he was with Warner when Billy Talent were working there and all sorts of things. He was like, this band has long hair. I shall go and see them. So he did. And he liked what he saw. So, and that's the only reason he came. So he told Ian from Billy Talent, and he showed up to the final show. I think we did 3 shows in under 24 hours at this conference. And Ian straight away was like, I want to work with you guys. And to put it in perspective to everybody out there, it's kind of like someone extremely prevalent within a major international syndicate of the music industry saying, I want to work with you. So whatever profession you're in, think about someone so far above you that can change everything that your life and direction could possibly be, and he did that. So that's how important it is to make the right impressions, be a great band. Oh, he helped write songs with us because he goes, oh man, I really like the show, but I don't really like your songs that much. And I was like, oh, fuck you too. But no, I didn't say that. I was like, oh, really?
What does that mean?
Man. But tell you what, though, he did take our songs into a new realm with Tropical Hazards. He's a great musician, and he's a really talented dude. And he put a lot of time into and what you now see as in the Lazies, development-wise, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, man, I mean, trails of thoughts going everywhere. That was a real poke in the dark, whatever you want to say. The band said, let's do it. Let's get on a plane. Let's go there. We'll see what happens. But, mate, I tell you what, the real work started after that. The real encompassing and navigating an international music scene came after that. And that's super challenging in itself. Like, we're not talking like miss a birthday here, miss a wedding. We're talking like you're away from home all the time. You're surviving on an oily rag. All the things that encompass being a broke musician, but you're in foreign countries. So yeah.
As far as with Ian Dessar, the idea of meeting somebody who can help change your course or trajectory of a band, it's so true. And we've chatted about it past few episodes as well. Like, everyone is a hub. And the idea where if you can find your way into a hub where there's other people that have careers, and one of the things I believe is you need someone successful in your circle. Because there's lots of bands that have lots of support, but no one's had success at radio or done a national tour or anything bigger than that. So you have someone in your circle that you can ask those questions openly, or even with talking about the songwriting too. It's like him seeing the potential in the band and going, no, we need a better song here. Because I'm sure Ian had the same experience with Gavin Brown back in the day. You know, him saying like, we got to work on some songs here, and that's how you get a Try Honesty. So there's a lot of truth to that. Back with the moving, again, not being easy. Was there pushback from any bandmates? Was there any uncertainty with some bandmates?
Yeah, I mean, Jay Braslin was our drummer at the time, and the international stuff wasn't connecting with him. Like I said, it's a very, very difficult process to navigate, and people at home start to worry and potentially start to want to move on, if you get my drift. So that's something where you've got to really, bite the bullet. And I'm super proud of Jay. He's actually runs his own barber shop. He's super successful in that realm. But that was for him. So that's when Andy stepped in to fulfill Jay's role. And Andy, he only got to look at his arm and he's got AC/DC tattooed on it. So it was like, oh yeah, you're the right guy for the job. And then everybody else was pretty down to move and shake around the world.
So you get Toronto. We've done the CMW stuff, working with Ian. Was there any time, again, I'm digging in a little bit with just inner workings of a band, because sometimes things can take a while to start actually moving forward. And was there any time when people were thinking, I don't think this was worth it, or I think we're going to move back, or did you ever have to have those kind of team talks of like, no, like we need to stick this out a little bit?
Well, team talks isn't our forte, Mike. We're trying to work on that one. So not really in terms of having any doubts, because I will say with the band's career path, there's always been a new goal and they've always been achieved. It's really weird. So Canada was the first part, then we had to go over to Germany. So Germany started moving really quickly. We secured a German agent, all that sort of stuff, goal achieved. Then it was go to the UK and do all the same thing again. We got an agent out of X-Ray Touring in the UK and then goal achieved. So you start going off, fuck, it's all going to plan. If we just keep going, who knows what will happen. Then we did, the first festival scene through Europe and played Wacken to like 30,000 people. And those people came to that stage at that time to see us. Goal achieved. And then fucking boom, COVID.
Oh, man.
Goal not achieved.
No. Goal postponed.
Goal postponed indefinitely.
I want to... I'll wait a second to talk about international touring. You mentioned you were coming to see an agent here as well in Toronto. Who was that?
Ralph James.
Ralph James. Yeah. I wanted to bring that up because we were...
Good old Ralph James, motherfuckers.
I think it was during Indie Week. A few of us were at one of the bars across from the venue, and he mentioned the Lazies. Mm-hmm. And he was there with somebody else from the office, and they were talking about how they saw Lazies and like needed to sign them on the spot, basically. Mm-hmm. Is there truth to that?
Yeah.
What was that interaction like?
Oh, it was insane. For those playing at home, Ralph James is an iconic and legendary North American rock and roll booking agent. Basically, that role takes care of growing your band in the live landscape and getting you bigger and better opportunities, and doing all that for you. So he came and saw us, and he was revoltingly hungover, he said, because we played at 11:50 a.m. at this showcase. It's a Canadian Music Week. You play at all different times of the day. It's crazy. But we brought a performance to him that he believed, he was like, holy fuck, have I even gone to bed from the night before type thing. This was our 25 minutes that we'd worked for so long. We'd flown across the other side of the world, knowing this guy could change the course of our careers, and it was the moment. Anyway, so we come off, and I'm just like, ah! And, this 30-year-old kid just going nuts. And Ralph James comes out the back, and he literally shook my hand. I'm like, oh, fuck, here we go. And he goes, you just changed my fucking life. I want to work with the band. And I was just like, oh, my God. Like, he left. I didn't want to be a pussy, but I shed a tear after he left the green room, because I haven't probably shed a tear about music since. That was the defining moment to me. You know, everything else has been such a great, thing for us, whatever. But that very moment, being recognised by him and wanting to work with us on the spot, I was just like, well, this is why we came. This all makes sense now. Since then I've been a bloody pain in his ass most of the time, but
that's part of the relationship between bands and agents. But no, it's hearing your story about that, like that feeling, I can imagine where, cause like that's the game. And like, that's the moment. It's like those 25 minutes, you have to be on.
Put it this way, Mike, it's never gonna happen like that ever again. I have fulfilled all that showcasing stuff, and I'm even more in a headspace now, whereas if someone came to potentially work with the band and didn't want to, I'd just be like, oh, whatever. Like, it wouldn't faze me. If you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. But when you're that young, craving it and wanting it and fucking working towards it your entire life, that's a whole different field, It's a whole different ball game. So yeah, that was something I'll take with me.
No, it's the opportunity and just making sure everyone can get the job done. But I'd say too, it's just like industry vets like Ralph James, like they can see that core potential that is there, and it was same thing with the Indie. It's like you see that core potential and you can work with that. So again, it's an awesome story to hear, an awesome story to share for bands to actually get that, because you never know who's going to be there. And if you do know who is there, make sure you can still perform.
Yeah. Hold back on the tequilas.
I did want to ask quickly about any tips for bands touring internationally, specifically if you gotta fly.
Oh, I mean, travel sucks, full stop. But no, my biggest tip to any band, and it's like, make sure you're ready to get up in front of industry professionals that can change the course, or offer you their services that will, in turn build the band. Remembering that they go to work too, their time is valuable, and they're really only going to want to work with something that they can be really hands-on with, something that suits them. It's no point chasing an agent that doesn't really like rock music. He doesn't, like, what are you doing? Just really look at it like an equation. And if everything adds up, I mean, after the equals sign is your kick-ass band. You know what I mean? if the after the equals sign isn't your band on stage delivering exactly what this agent or whoever it is wants to see, because when they put their teeth into it, they can make money for everyone, then you need to go back to the equation, right?
No, that's a big thing you touched on there. Make money for everyone, because agents work off a percentage. And with some bands, I asked them, and I always love talking to who's in charge of the spreadsheet with the band. How much are you bringing in? Do you think anyone wants 10% of that or 20% of that? Because when it's, a few $100s, it's hard to get someone to put the time in to actually work together with it. But one more thing I wanted to touch on, just the importance of the agent as well, because as you're saying, like the agent can get you tours. They can get you in front of bigger crowds. And there's so many bands that want a song on the radio. And it's like, do you want a song on the radio to save a song on the radio? Do you want to be in front of decent sized crowds every night so you can bring those new fans to the merch table and get that connection? Like, it's just that agent can be a huge game changer for bands building. They're
generally, like, agents are pretty hands-on people, and they're often pretty crazy, like they love the bar scenes. They love a party. They're really hands-on people and have great relationships with people, because that's kind of what it is. It's like booking your bands and dealing with promoters and dealing with bands themselves, and then dealing with other agents and all sorts of stuff. So they're usually pretty crazy, and that's a good thing. But yeah,
they're energetic.
They're super important, man. And the combination of manager agents, super important to get you the right fees. But touching on the fact that, if you're in a band, doesn't mean you can't get an agent because your spreadsheets aren't looking great yet. That's the way we were. It's about delivering the product that they feel they can get your band to that next level where the spreadsheets start looking good. Because we all have to remember music is a business, right? It's all good and well to say that, oh, I'm a musician. I don't care about money. Well, look at Nirvana. Oh, look at this. There you go. I got it in there. Look at Nirvana and do the figures on what everybody made on them. That'll do your fucking head in for a garage stoner rock band that didn't care about money. Yeah, right. I'm sure Dave Grohl lives in a fibro shack.
He's just paying rent on his apartment. Yeah, just doing it all. But then again, there's definitely a time when you need to think about the business end of it. And we've chatted about it briefly before, but just like that's another one of those times when people seem to drop off in music because they look at how hard it is to make a living. You've got 3, 4, 5 people you're trying to split the pie up for, and it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to some people. So they duck out, and it's what it is. But excellent point though, again, because even if your spreadsheet doesn't look fantastic at the moment, somebody who sees the potential there can help push the band forward and push it to new heights.
100%, man. That's like any band starts somewhere. You know, I do know Ralph signed a couple of his bands and they were on $200 a night for a while. And a great agent will stick it out with you. Will stick it out with the band. And then that $200 a night turns into a lot more.
I got you for an hour, so I got you a little bit longer here. Because it's daylight savings where you are.
Yeah. Coming into summer. Woo!
Yeah, it was an hour before we were supposed to meet up. I'll see you in a bit. I'm like, we're still got another hour. Bandwagon Workshops.
Yeah.
Where did that idea come from?
So, I mean, great segue here, Mike. I essentially, mate, the idea stemmed from and spawned from this gap that we have, that people aren't sort of getting sort of educated or getting the right advice or guidance on their band, and also finding it very difficult to get in touch with the right people that could help their band or their act or their career. So Bandwagon spawned online in 2020 with the start of the pandemic, because a lot of musicians obviously were off the road. Anyway, the idea kind of morphed and things like that, and a lot of sessions were taking place online where, bands that just popped out of the woodwork had the opportunity to go face-to-face, one-on-one with somebody, an industry professional, whether it's a songwriter or somebody in radio or an agent, a publisher, whatever it is, a manager. They were able to book time with this particular person and have a one-on-one guided session with them to what their next step should be. From there, obviously the idea is brilliant because I came up with it. Nah, just kidding. Got to be a little bit egotistical as a singer sometimes.
No, you get confident with the business.
No, I very much am. And from there, it's really morphed into some great things. A lot I can talk about, a lot I can't. But technically, we've teamed up with some people in the States. We are building this tech platform that will launch eventually. I think, early 2022. That is going to be a really, really easy platform to navigate, that's going to be able to connect you to the right people. And that is great for up-and-coming artists. We're doing it across the entertainment industry. It doesn't have to just be music. There's a lot of people out there in all areas of entertainment where somebody knowledgeable on the other end of the phone is going to be a great help to them. And from a business side of things too, for all you mentors and artists out there that could potentially be mentors, we want to be able to monetize their experience. We want to be able to say that if you're off the road and not making any money, you can log on and you can actually mentor kids internationally with your expertise based on your market value. You set your own price. And a lot of people are like, whoa, that's a hard one to grasp. And I'm like, well, technically, if I didn't fly all the way over to Toronto and meet Ian Dessar and Ralph James, I'd be up shit creek without a paddle, right? because Australia wasn't doing nothing for me. But if fast forward from 2014 to 2021 and how far the world's come, if I could log on to something like this and get their time and share my songs with them, create songs with them, pick their brains, sort of, get a gauge of where my career's at and how I could do things better. It's just like going and getting therapy, mate. People pay by the hour to do that, so why wouldn't they pay by the hour to get that expertise?
No, I think it's a great idea, and the gap that it does fill. At a lot of the conferences, they'll have like mentor workshops and like speed meetings and stuff, so you can book time with somebody and chat with them for 10-15 minutes. Because I was saying earlier, and it sounds like you agree with me, the idea that like you need successful people in your circle, and the idea where you can book somebody with your questions that is successful, that is success for the things that you're trying to do, and they can share some insight and look at what your game plan is. And it's like, no, that is filling a gap. And that's a pain point for a lot of musicians when they don't know what to do. And it's like, not your band can move across the planet to make some connections. So
maybe this platform would have given us the guidance for Ian to say, love the band and love the songs, rather than love the band, you need better songs. We still had that development to go. Whereas, do you know how much it cost to flew us across the Canada that time? Probably in excess of $10,000-$15,000 with rentals and hotels. And we stayed in Toronto in a basement on the floor. I slept next to the fridge to save money, right? But the flights still cost a lot. Imagine if you put $10,000 into a platform like this and actually had real people like Ian Desar or somebody like that guiding you virtually before you took the step onto the plane. I think there could be some benefits in that.
Yeah, you're right. And that's one of those things that you talk about, as much as there's a lot of downsides last year because of the health situation and tours getting canceled and stuff. But a lot of bands have figured out a way to work online. And the idea where we don't need to, I'm sure some bands miss it, getting together, going to the bar or whatever or the pub to go and have drinks and chat about business and stuff. But I like that we can just have our meetings and we can still see each other's faces and stuff and get honest reactions for things, opposed to if you're just on an email thread or a message thread or something like that. But it's just like, what I think, and reading over Bandwagon Workshops and hearing you explain it on here, it's like it really is filling a gap, and it really is a remedy for a pain point with musicians who don't know what to do, and they would pay for someone's time and experience. And you're right, there's times when musicians are off the road. What are they gonna, everyone can't be on Cameo, so
everybody always brings it back, man, but like a plumber's not going to fix your shit up for nothing.
No, there's times worth something.
You need to take a shit. So this is like I'm the most guerrilla elevator pitch guy, and I get animated with everything, but I get so passionate about the fact that musicians around the world have all this experience and knowledge. And I'm going to break it down for you, Mike. You're fantastic at doing these podcasts. I could never administrate a podcast and do it so calmly and professionally as yourself, right? Yeah, I'm just too fucking off with the fairies. But if through this platform, this is a great way to break it down. Through this platform, if people out there were chasing ideas of how to create a podcast, how to do it professionally, how to have this branding, this entire look, it looks fabulous, right? No, absolutely no complaints here. Where do they start? They can go on Google, fair enough. But what about going to Bandwagon Workshops and going, right, I'm going to book some of Mike's time. It might be an hour. That's all they might need. And you get paid, and your expertise are now guiding these kids to their dream of creating a podcast so they can talk about BMX bikes. I don't know. Whatever it is. Or
that's my other podcast.
Oh, is it?
No, I'm just joking.
Okay. You got me, you bastard.
But we can chat about BMX after if you want. No, but that's the thing. And one of the thing as far as valuing people's time, and what I wanted to go with that is, I'm sure you've experienced it where someone wants so much of your time, and there's not really a trade there, and you want to be a good person and be helpful, but like I can't do 6 hours a day. with
You
all
need that
of
applause button. You need that applause button.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where you gotta pick your spots, and like over the years, like I've had those hour meetings where we chatted about stuff. Where I thought like a band's got some good components, but like what we could be working on and stuff. But also at the same time too, and that's where I think Bandwagon Workshops could really help. It's like when you're paying for it, getting that dollar, spending that dollar, you're going to value the opinion that much more.
Absolutely.
Because when it's free advice, they say, oh, it's just free. But it's like if you're spending time with somebody, they're not. And also, then the other end too, it's like if they know that you're paying for your time, they're going to give you the best they can, their honest opinion.
Absolutely. They're going to take you seriously. And here's something that relates to being in a band. Now, when you're in a band and you have a T-shirt at the merch stand, now you can have a bunch of people walk past the merch stand and leave the venue. When someone comes up and gives you $30, $40, whatever you charge for a T-shirt, $15, whatever it is, they're giving you their money. They like you. They value you. They value you, and they want that shirt because they're proud of it. They were there. It's a moment. It's a memento. It's a trophy. They can go to their friend's house and go, "Fucking look at this!" You know what I mean? Bobby Cousins, I know he's listening. I got a great friend out there, but he's mad as a cut snake, as we say in Australia. But
say Bobby Cousins.
Yeah. See, no, this guy's. Bobby's a good friend, but he's like, I met him through the band and all that, and I kind of put my crazy filter on when I meet people. So he was at the top of it. But he buys merch. He gets into young bands. He even has some of them play in his backyard sometimes, all sorts of shit like that. But I bet you he'd agree, he passes over his money. So therefore he's proud of it. So the way to bring that back to Bandwagon Workshops and that concept is very much so that what you were saying, if you're going to pay somebody to pick their brain or for their expertise, you're going to take that on, but you're going to have a notepad. You're going to that person's going to take you seriously. And the last thing to touch on with it is the networks that it'll start to create. Because even though we are there as a paid service, we're also artistically minded people. So if two artistically minded people start to really sort of generate something on the platform, who knows what might happen off the platform? That's out of our control. I don't care what happens, but they're meeting on the platform. So what a great sort of ecosystem this could and will become.
I think the word is will become. I think it's a great idea. Yeah. And and again, reading over on the website today, bandwagonworkshops.com. Reading over that today and just talking about this with you, like I think it's a fantastic idea. And again, that line in the sand, because there's bands that will barely invest in their band at all. And the band that's just like, wait a second, we can get so-and-so's time for half an hour, and we can throw some ideas by them, or they can listen to our songs, they get some feedback. I think it's a fantastic idea.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that.
All right, we're almost at our hour. Very strict. Yeah. Your management's very strict. What are you doing today?
What I'm doing today? I'm going, because a bit of extra cash is always all right. I'm going to sing a jingle, right? Now, by the time they put all the cloud over it, you probably won't even recognise it's me, for a major tool company, because I like the trades a bit, work in the trades. G'day to all the boys up the site there. You! They're on the Malabar walking track. So I'm going to sing a song for a tool company today. How good's that? So I've got my voice all prepped up.
Getting you warmed up. I want to before we sign off, I want to just grab a few things from the chat here, because it's been not to get sentimental, but it's been a long time since we've been on the stage and been out touring and stuff. So it's just a few. So I got Wayne here. Hi from Liverpool, UK. Lazy used to be the best band nobody had heard of. That is a compliment. Not anymore. One of the best,
this guy from over there.
But not anymore. One of the best live bands out there. Can't wait for the boys to get back playing again. So it's nice to hear some love from
Wayne.
Around the
Wayne
world.
King.
There's another one here.
Wayne Kerr.
I liked this one. Leanne was saying, loving the description of Australia. I think that was the playing to dirt description earlier, just in case.
I forgot the penal colony part.
There's two more I wanted to grab here. It's a bit of a question. Alexander's saying, Lazy's rock.
Yeah.
Any word on another album?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, we're talking about it as we speak. But you know, it won't probably go into production at least till next April. I mean, we're stuck in, to give you the absolute bottom line story. 3 of us are stuck in Australia. There's been no talk of any international travel, and probably won't be until at least Christmas, and then rolling on into the new year, we'll have to assess it then. So, them's the breaks.
Sometimes
thank you, Alexander, for your question.
Sometimes people don't understand how far out a band actually plans these things. It's not like, oh, we'll just put a record out like next month and then we'll be on tour. It's like usually, 12, 18 months all planned in advance.
Maddie's been writing a lot, so.
This might be news. Billy Shears says, I know that guy.
You're such a dick, Shearer. I bet you he's at home in his like dressing gown or something with his foot spa, because he was a close contact for COVID, so he can't leave his house. Oh no.
There's one more I wanted to bring up, and I think this rounds out our chat today. Don says, I love Leon's vibe. Tell it like it is, a thing of beauty. I couldn't agree more. And again, to bring it full circle on that panel that we were on, I looked over and I said, no, this guy's game. This will be fun. We can get into it. So,
yeah, man.
But again, telling it like it is, and that is being a musician. Being a musician in a nutshell, it's like you have to be real about what's going on. So.
Yeah, very important. But stick to your guns, everyone, and have a good day.
Well, Leon, anything else you want to bring up before we sign off?
No, I just thank everyone for tuning in. It's been fun, Mike. I think you got a great show here.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, happy to push it any way I can.
I appreciate it.
Look at you, mate, to the seconds, 59.50. Here we go.
Well, then there's the 3-minute intro. There's a few things on there. So best place to find you is the Lazies, the website. So
best place to find the band is Instagram these days, I feel. Just at the Lazies. We're on Facebook, the Lazies. You won't miss us on those sort of social platforms. Website, yeah.
I hear you.
And you can find me at, what am I? The Australian Dreamer. The Australian Dreamer on Instagram, and just Leon Harrison on Facebook.
And then
I'm always around for a chat.
Bandwagonworkshops.com. Check that out as well, especially if you're in a band or an artist. And there's a long list of valuable music industry minds on there to help give you some advice.
And only growing too, Mike. Only growing.
We'll
get you on there, mate. We'll get you on there.
We'll see. We'll start owing people money if they start taking my advice. So, all right, all the details where to find Leon. I'll put that in the description below if you're watching.
I've got a funny story to sign off because Leon is online. So, starting Bandwagon Workshops, like I am super interested. I come from a background of education. My parents were teachers. I love teaching new kids stuff and trying to make their struggle of getting known and noticed a little easier, right? Call me crazy. But, so Liam, who's on the call, our rhythm guitarist and house partier, the guy will get his asshole out anywhere on tour. So we're in the green room one time, and I really do think it was the band called the Fallaways from BC. Jay, I work with Jay. I think we're reshaping that. But anyway, we're all out in the green room, and he's like, "Oh, so tell us about this bandwagon thing." Like I said, it's all about giving advice and giving back and making sure you're on the right track. And I'm happy to mentor you guys if you want to. Liam, I mean, you'd be a great mentor, Liam. What would you say to an aspiring band? And you just looked at him and went, "Quit." And I just went, "You're fired, mate. You're never coming on the platform."
Well, the thing about that though is if that's enough to make you quit, it may be the best advice you got, because you're going to get lots of negative feedback in music and the arts in general. Sure. But it's pretty funny. It's harsh and true at times. So.
I'm gonna find out offline, but what star sign Liam is, because he's surely got to be. Oh, he's surely got to be a Taurus, for sure. Oh no, he's November, Sagittarius maybe. Fuck.
Yeah, if you're late November, you might be in Sagittarius. So.
Oh man, he's funny. Anyway, I thought that would be a good one to end
No,
on.
that was a good one. That was a good one. One more here. Kim Party saying, Leon, your energy is awesome. I
Thank you, Kim.
could not agree more. Could not
Thanks
agree
very
more.
much.
I think that's a good place to wrap things up here.
Yeah. I'm gonna go sing my jingle, mate.
Well, you can sing along to the track after while we're winding down here. Once again, my name is Mike Langford. This has been DearBands Live. Thanks again to everybody for taking part in the chat. Any questions we did not get to, we'll go back and answer those. Thanks again to our guest today, Leon Harrison. A reminder to like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. That's our time today. Thanks for watching.